It's Wednesday, March 18. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Jamaica now has 13 positive cases of the coronavirus. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton made the disclosure at Jamaica House Tuesday afternoon.
Today we received 5 test results, and of the 5, 1 is confirmed to be COVID-19, 4 are negative. So 1 confirmed, 4 negative, which brings the numbers now to 13 of positives. This particular one is linked again to patient 1. Remember, I replaced 0 with 1 last evening. So this is the first patient from the Bull Bay area. Another positive test linked to patient 1. It also justifies for us why we took the decision to quarantine that Bull Bay 7-8 mile area, because so far the numbers that are linked, if they were moving about, it would certainly create greater spread depending on where they would have gone and who they came in contact with.
Dr. Tufton also assured the public that sufficient kits are available for further virus testing.
We have sufficient reagents to test. We have enough to test, is it 2,500? Approximately 2,500 tests. We just got new stocks, was it yesterday or today? Yesterday. And we are ordering additional in anticipation that this will last for a particular period of time. So there is no issue right now as it relates to our capacity to test. A number of persons have been saying, why not try to expand testing, and to get rapid tests so persons can go to several locations to get the test done. Just to say that this is not possible at this time. For one, the reagents or materials are not readily available. This is a developing situation. Secondly, persons have to be trained, and the persons who do the testing now at the National Influenza Center at the university were trained by the Pan American Health Organization, so it's not something you can just distribute.
News emerged last week that some taxi operators were refusing to transport nurses from the University Hospital of the West Indies out of fears of contracting COVID-19. In response, the health minister says steps have been taken to alleviate this problem for the nurses.
The nurses and the challenges that they face, the frontline workers, tomorrow, this is in regards to transportation to and from work and the discriminatory practices that some taxi operators have been engaged in refusing to take them back or forth. We have condemned that action, and I've had discussions with the Minister of Transport, and I know he has taken up some of the concerns with the different associations. I've had dialogue with the nurses and the president in particular, and we're going to be looking to see what arrangements can be made to give some critical support to our frontline staff. It may not be taking you from work to home, but certainly taking you to a central point. A number of hospitals currently do that. We're going to be reviewing it to see what else can be done. In addition to that, tomorrow I am going to hand over, assuming we can get the logistics right, if not tomorrow, the next day, 5 new buses that have been purchased for the nurses to provide critical transportation to those central points. And I know 5 is not enough for the entire country, but it's certainly a good start. We will also be talking to the management of the hospitals to see what other arrangements can be made.
In response to the expected economic fallout from the COVID-19 virus, the Finance Ministry will be pumping $25 billion stimulus package into the island. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark made the announcement in the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
The good news, Mr. Speaker, that the government of Jamaica is providing a $25 billion stimulus, the largest fiscal stimulus in Jamaica's history, that could not come at a better time. Pumping $25 billion into the economy at a time of uncertainty like this helps to support economic activity in Jamaica, which is always desirable when the global environment weakens. The reduction in GCT by 1.5% from 16.5% to 15% puts $14 billion back in the hands of consumers and supports consumption. The $1 billion MSME tax credit provides critical cash flow support to MSMEs, and the dramatic reduction in regulatory fees for coconut, coffee, cocoa, and spice farmers incentivizes greater production. In this time of need for the country, it's also important that Jamaicans support our local economy by buying Jamaican. This would enhance the effect of these measures even further by supporting domestic production and domestic economic activity. We have waived the special consumption tax on approximately 100,000 liters of alcohol for use in the making of sanitizers. And the producer of this 100,000 would actually be donating this 100,000 to the National Health Fund and the Ministry of Health. And this will ensure that sanitizers remain available in Jamaica. Mr. Speaker, we have also waived the custom duty, or we will also waive the custom duty on the importation of masks, of gloves, of hand sanitizers, and of liquid hand soap for a 90-day period, Mr. Speaker.
Dr. Clark said that the banking sector has taken proactive steps to curb some economic downturn. Overall, he said the government has beefed up some $7 billion in contingency funds announced last week in his budget presentation to make provisions for the pandemic virus.
The banking sector, Mr. Speaker, has volunteered to forego the reduction of the asset tax I mentioned earlier for 1 year, which adds $3 billion to the $7 billion COVID contingency I announced in my budget presentation, bringing the total COVID fiscal contingency for 2020-21 to $10 billion.
The finance minister said that the government would be introducing the COVID allocation of resources for employees program, CARE, which has 4 elements.
The first is the Business Employee Support and Transfer of Cash Program, and we're calling that the Best Cash Program, which will provide temporary cash transfers to businesses in target sectors based on the number of workers that they keep employed. So you keep a certain number of workers employed for April, you get the number of workers times the amount. And for May, the number of workers times the amount. Mr. Speaker, we'll be implementing what we call the Supporting Employees with a Transfer of Cash program, Set Cash, which will provide temporary cash transfers to individuals where it can be verified that they lost their employment since the first case of COVID in Jamaica, which was a week ago, and due to this, the events surrounding that. And this will be available for a specific period of time. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, have a special soft loan fund to assist individuals and businesses who have been hit hard by the emergence of these problems, and aiming to provide it to those hit hardest first. And fourth, Mr. Speaker, we will have a tranche to support the poor and vulnerable with special, whether or not they are any of the categories above, with special COVID-related grants.
In a follow-up, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says a third supplementary budget for the 2019-2020 fiscal year is to be tabled in Parliament as the government moves to contain the fallout resulting from the COVID-19 disease now affecting Jamaica. The supplementary estimates are to be tabled around March 24, and on the following day, the various committees, including the Standing Finance Committee, will examine and move to have them passed.
So we will need to table and have passed before the end of this financial year a third supplementary estimate for 2019-20. The severe disruption caused by COVID-19 globally, which has escalated daily over the past week and resulted in increasingly stringent measures around the world to safeguard global populations and the Jamaican population, has economic spillovers.
Dr. Clark says such measures will help to better prepare the country to survive the economic effects of COVID-19 in the upcoming fiscal year. The minister has asked that his parliamentary colleagues sitting on the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee assist with the process.
Requesting the forbearance of my parliamentary colleagues on the PAAC, the Standing Finance Committee, and the House of Representatives to work with us to expedite the passage of the third supplementary estimates for 2019-20 before the end of the fiscal year, along with the passage of the appropriation bill for 2020-21. This will require tabling the third supplementary estimates on Tuesday, March 24th, 2020, and on the following day, Mr. Speaker, with your cooperation, having the PAAC, House Leader, having the Standing Finance Committee, and the debate and passage of those estimates.
Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips has reached out to the government of the Republic of Cuba for Jamaica to have access to the antiviral drug interferon alpha 2B, which is among 30 such drugs being used in the fight against the COVID-19 virus in other jurisdictions. Dr. Phillips made the announcement in his budget presentation at the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
Mr. Prime Minister, we have been in touch with the Cuban authorities. Yes. I've received reports that they have medicines that can be helpful in fighting COVID-19. The medicine interferon, right, has been used in 14 other jurisdictions in Asia and Europe, including Spain. I have confirmed that it exists and that they'd be willing to make it available, but it needs a request from you. I'm commending it for your consideration, as it would help to reduce the incidence of infection, or in the event of infection, could reduce the severity of the infections.
Dr. Phillips urged the government not to delay in making the request of the neighboring island. Cuba has been assisting Jamaica with ICU nurses and other medical professionals for many years. A batch of 21 nurses from Cuba is expected to arrive in the island next week to help in the fight against the coronavirus. Jamaica can benefit from the expanded access to foreign currencies and the Jamaican dollar. The Bank of Jamaica's Governor, Richard Biles, met with members of the Jamaica Bankers Association and the Jamaica Security Dealers Association to outline measures to ensure that financial institutions have adequate access to both foreign currency and the Jamaican dollar. Biles says with the sharp contractions in the tourism industry and the likely disruption of remittance inflows, the supply of foreign exchange to the market will fall in the near term. He says the central bank will support the foreign exchange needs of businesses in the real sector through sales to authorized dealers and cambios as needed. Additionally, he says the BOJ stands ready to expand the volume of swap arrangements with authorized dealers. Spanish hotel chain Rio Resorts says it will be closing 3 of its Jamaican properties effective Wednesday, blaming it on the novel coronavirus disease, COVID-19. The company issued a statement saying that the Rio Negril, Rio Montego Bay, and Rio Palace Jamaica hotels will be closed. The Rio Ocho Rios, Palace, Tropical Bay, and Rio Reggae will remain open to attend to guests who are here or will arrive on the island. The hotel chain said it has created what is described as a crisis cabinet to deal with further decisions, indicating that the move to close some properties temporarily was due to lower occupancy because of the travel restrictions caused by COVID-19. Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips wants the Governor General Sir Patrick Allen to declare a national day of prayer as Jamaica battles the coronavirus. During his budget presentation in Parliament Tuesday, Phillips pointed out that the time has come for us to extend our collective faith as we seek God's intervention to overcome the current challenges. Phillips says the day of prayer will be in accordance with the rules outlined by government relating to the assembly of individuals in specific spaces and locations, specifically in families and homes across the island. Phillips made the call after outlining a raft of suggestions to address the anticipated COVID-19 fallout. The Jamaican government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak is being praised by the World Health Organization and America's top diplomat in the island. The commendations came Monday. WHO Director General posted on his Twitter page, quote, "Thank you so much for your leadership and preparedness," end quote. Also, United States Ambassador to Jamaica Donald Tapia said in a tweet, quote, "We want to congratulate the GOJ and the MOHW for its timely reporting of COVID-19 cases and aggressive containment strategy." The MOHW, Ministry of Health and Wellness, has shown that one of the best defense is appropriate public sensitization on preventative methods for the importance of early case recognition, end quote. On Monday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced the new measures at a news conference at Jamaica House to stem the spread of the virus, including limited public gatherings to no more than 20. Closing bars and asking persons who came from countries where there is a local spread of the virus to self-quarantine. $100 million. That's the cost of the estimated damage resulting from last month's massive fire at Heaven's FESCO gas station, according to the Jamaica Fire Brigade. Head of the Manchester Fire Division, Deputy Superintendent Joshua Davis, made the disclosure at Thursday's meeting of the Manchester Municipal Corporation. Davis believes people have become careless in the area of fire prevention and safety, pointing out the response of people during the fire. The Deputy Superintendent said motorists continue to ignore fire units with lights flashing and sirens wailing. Davis said, too, that the public needs to be careful as the risk resulting from fires increased drastically in February. The report from the JFB on the gas station has not yet been made public. Speculations continue as to how the fire started. The blaze, which resulted in the death of 59-year-old mechanic Daniel Farquharson, in addition to other people being injured, sparked widespread debate about how gas stations are being operated. 2 of the injured individuals are still in hospital. Repair work has been ongoing at Heaven's FESCO gas station. 48-year-old Nosha Graham is facing charges related to theft and arson after he stole items from and set fire to a restaurant on Constant Spring Road in Kingston 10 on Sunday, November 18 last year. Reports from the Halfway Tree Police are that about 3:18 a.m., Graham, who had been fired from the restaurant, broke in, stole $960,000 and then set the establishment on fire. He was apprehended on Wednesday, March 11, 2020, and charged following a question-and-answer session in the presence of his attorney at law. And this week in our Living Health Report, it's all about coronavirus or COVID-19, specifically self-quarantine and keeping your hands clean. If you are told to self-quarantine, that means you should stay at home. Don't go to work, don't go to school or other places, and you shouldn't have any visitors. If you live with others, stay in a ventilated bedroom with the door closed. If you share a bathroom, use it after everyone else, and don't share toiletries. If you live on your own, do your shopping online or ask friends and families to do it for you and tell them to leave it at the door. Symptoms of the coronavirus will vary, but common signs include fever, cough, shortness of breath, and breathing difficulties. In more severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, kidney failure, and even death. If you develop symptoms, don't take public transportation or just turn up at your doctor's office or hospital. Instead, you should call 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683 or 888-754-7792 or 876-542-5998, 876-542-6007, 876-542-6006. You can send an email using covid19@moh.gov.jm or jacovid19facts@gmail.com. The coronavirus is highly communicable. It causes a mild illness for 4 out of 5 people. It can be transmitted from person to person, usually after close contact with an infected patient. When you self-quarantine, you help to protect older people, especially those with health issues. Wash your hands often and do it properly. Start by wetting your hands with water. Apply enough soap to cover all hand surfaces. Rub hands palm to palm. Right palm over left dorsum with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Backs of fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotational rubbing of left thumb clasped in right palm and vice versa. Rotational rubbing backwards and forwards with clasped fingers of right hand in left palm and vice versa. Then rinse hands with water. Dry your hands thoroughly with a single-use towel. Use towel to turn off faucet. And your hands are safe. The US dollar is being traded at $136.65, down by 3 cents, according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar is being traded at $97.48, down from $99.09, while the British pound sterling is being traded at $164.95, down from $168.38. In regional news, Guyana, the only Caribbean community country, CARICOM country, to have recorded a fatal coronavirus case on Tuesday, announced the closure of its international airports as well as a ban on a self-imposed quarantine as it deals with the impact of the virus that has killed more than 6,000 people worldwide. And in other regional news, overall, the government of Guyana has rolled out a collective approach to combating the novel coronavirus or COVID-19, as well as strengthen the level of preparedness. We get more in this report from InfoHub.
A ministerial task force briefed the media at the NCN studios on Homestretch Avenue about the measures and appropriate approach taken by the government in response to the health and economic risks of the COVID-19. Public Health Minister Volder Lawrence explained that the National Public Health Reference Laboratory that has the capacity to test for the disease, and the ministry has set up several quarantine areas.
We have also been able to now establish 4 sites where we can be able to address the needs of persons who must be quarantined. And I speak of persons who fall within the 3 categories. Those persons who are suspected cases, which means that they would have been exposed in one way or the other to a person or persons who have contracted the virus. Those probable cases, and those are persons who would have had a test done, but it came back inconclusive. And persons who are confirmed cases.
In terms of education, the Education Ministry has responded with the closure of all schools. In addition to the sanitation of training and learning facilities, the ministry is taking the necessary steps for students writing both the NGSA and CSEC examinations.
We have also embarked in discussions with CXC to have the rescheduling of dates for both national and regional examinations. That would be the grade 6 and the CSEC examinations.
Parents are advised to work with children in preparation for the exams through the ministry's website, the Ghana Learning Channel, radio broadcasts of the interactive radio instruction for grades 1 to 3, and NCN Radio. The University of Guyana has also put in place a 2-week closure in effect until March 30, 2020. Police Commissioner Leslie James says that since the outbreak of the virus, the force has been planning for any eventuality and systems are in place at all ports of entry. Safety measures are also being implemented at the level of the aviation sector. Director General, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Egbert Field, gave that update.
We are on both fronts at the airport, the Chedijagan International Airport and the Oval International Airport. The authority has been conducting inspections, ensuring that the necessary pieces of equipment such as temperature sensors, etc., and working closely with the Center of Disaster Control and also the Ministry of Health.
Lending support to all of these agencies is the Civil Defense Commission. The agency's Director General, Lieutenant Colonel Kester Craig, gave some details.
So to date, we have completed a detailed assessment of the process and procedures at the Chedijagan International Airport, and we prepared a report where we submitted to the Minister of Health and several of the other agencies, including the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, Immigration, Customs, to start taking certain measures or improvement measures that are already implemented at the airport. Apart from that too, we've assessed all of the facilities identified for isolation and quarantine and came up with recommendations, and those reports were also submitted to the Minister of Health.
Other agencies that have since implemented measures include the Supreme Court. The court began fumigation and sanitization of the facilities on March 13. The Ghana Revenue Authority has also made it possible for taxpayers to utilize e-filing services and payment relationships with financial institutions. The Public Infrastructure Ministry has suspended ferry services between Ghana and Suriname from March 14 until further notice. The Department of Citizenship is engaging persons accessing services in smaller groups. The National Sports Commission has closed the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall, the National Gymnasium, the National Aquatic Center, Colgreen Pool, and the National Racquet Sports Resource Center for at least 2 weeks. The Protected Areas Commission, or PAC, has closed the Georgetown Zoo until further notice. Meanwhile, the Department of Public Service has implemented a shift system for all public servants from March 16 to the 27th, 2020.
Still in Guyana, High Court Judge Franklin Holder has ruled that an injunction be granted preventing the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, from conducting a national recount of votes from the March 2 general elections. We get more in this report from Alexis Rodney of the Department of Public Information in Guyana.
GECOM had indicated its readiness to have the recount commenced at 5 p.m. on Tuesday after President David Granger and opposition leader Bart Jagdeo signed an aid memoir committing to the process. On Saturday, President Granger sought the assistance of CARICOM for it to overlook the recounting of ballots in all 10 administrative regions. He believed that a move by the independent unit would put all doubts to rest about the validity of the results. CARICOM on Sunday dispatched a 5-member high-level team to supervise the process, which was expected to commence the following day. However, an application to the High Court filed by private citizen Yulita Grace Moore on Tuesday sought an interim injunction against GECOM and its officers from setting aside or varying the declaration of the returning officer of the 10 electoral districts and from substituting or replacing that declaration with any other documents or declarations until the hearing and determination of the judicial review. An interim injunction was also sought restraining GECOM from permitting any person to any agreement between the President of Guyana and the Leader of the Opposition and or between the Guyana Elections Commission and CARICOM to count or recount any ballots from the March 2 polls until the hearing of the judicial review application. GECOM's Attorney Excellence Dazelle had advised the chairman of the commission that the President and Leader of the Opposition, though their intentions were honorable, could not enter into an agreement that runs counter to the law which governs the Representation of the People's Act. She also advised against a total recount of all regions. For InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
In sports, Sport Minister Olivia Grange says that her ministry will give support to the former Jamaican long-distance runner Kemoy Campbell, who made an appeal for help following surgery in the United States. The athlete reported on social media that he underwent surgery on the weekend to replace the implantable cardioverter defibrillator in his chest after passing out while driving. Grange said Campbell was covered under the Jamaica Athletes Insurance Plan, which provides health, life and personal accident coverage, and he is entitled to use it to deal with medical expenses. Under the group health component of the plan, Campbell can get 80% coverage for hospital fees. Minister Grange says the ministry would assist him with the balance if required. Campbell retired in 2019, 7 months after his heart stopped while pacing at the Millrose Games in New York. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to keep safe.